A Short History of Unitarian Universalism in Stark County, 1891 to 1991. We start with a little bit of prehistory. In October of 1891, a Unitarian minister came down from Cleveland and preached an evening sermon in Massillon to a crowd of over 150. Are you a Unitarian without knowing it? Advertisements like this were put out by the Unitarian Laymen's League back in the early 1960s. It was part of a campaign to expand the number of Unitarian fellowships, and similar ads ran locally. In 1960, 26 people founded the Unitarian Society of North Canton and joined the American Unitarian Association. This was actually the second Unitarian group in Stark County. The first was founded in 1952 in Massillon and was called the Unitarian Fellowship for Liberal Religion, and then later became the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Stark County. They met first at the YWCA and then at this house at 372 Perry Drive in Massillon. They disbanded sometime in the 1960s, and some of their members joined the newer group. The newer Canton group first met in the local Elks Club. This was not the best of arrangements, since on Sunday morning the smell of beer and cigarettes from Saturday night were still salient. There was also the story of a very young girl who, when asked by her teacher what religion she was, answered enthusiastically, "I'm an elk." After a search for new space, they settled at 310 East Maple, across from the Hoover Building in North Canton. They called it the Unitarian House and paid a steep $75 a month for rent. The dining room was the worship space. The living room was the hospitality space. There was a room on the first floor and two more on the second floor that were used for children's programming. There were even fruit trees in the yard. In 1961, they had 46 adult members and 45 registered in the Sunday school. They had full programming for children using Unitarian curricula from Beacon Press, such as the Martin and Judy series of books, a sort of Dick and Jane for religious liberals. Adult programming included a short worship service followed by a presentation and discussion. At first there was no piano, so they didn't sing any hymns in the early years. Occasionally they would invite guest ministers, or the Rabbi Gorin, who had Sundays off, to speak. Each family would take turns being in charge of taking care of the house and providing hospitality each month. This core, committed group kept the fellowship going. In 1966, Hoover needed the property for a parking lot, so the congregation moved to the YWCA in Canton, which provided good space, if not good visibility. In the fall of 1966, the Society realized that they did not always make the best impression on visitors. They formalized their Sunday services with printed orders of service and more Unitarian Universalist guest speakers. Of course, it still took a lot of energy and time, as seen in this vintage volunteer sign-up sheet. In the fall of 1968, they shared a minister from Cleveland, the Reverend William Fortner, with congregations in Lorain and Sandusky for about a year and a half. After that, the congregation started some growth initiatives, but they were not able to regain their earlier momentum. In this photo are both founding member Ralph Belfilio and Jack Geyer, who had been a part of the earlier Massillon group. In 1972, the Canton Unitarian Society dissolved, and the funds were entrusted to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Akron. To be continued.